Irene Williams. I'm here on behalf of Coverings. Coverings is North America's largest tile and stone conference, and I am here with the fabulous Holly Baker. She is what is known as an influencer in the design world. Sounds so fancy, but she is widely known for what she does. She's very focused on vacation rentals, and she's a fabulous social media following. And so when we talk about influencers, that means you're really great at what you do, and people know that and see you as an authority. So we're just very thankful for you to carve some time at a busy show to be with us today.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you for inviting me.
So right out of the gate, before we were on camera, you were kind of telling me what, more specific about what you do. So keep dishing on that. It's like the VRBO vacation rental
Vacation rentals are huge. They've really emerged a lot in the last 10 years. Even in the last 5, they've come so far. So when I'm not doing interior design for clients around the country, I actually host a show on A&E where we travel around the country and help people buy vacation rentals and then figure out ways for them to change the design so that they can maximize their income. Because for a lot of people, this is a dream, and to make it happen, they actually need that income. It's not just a passive kind of fun thing for them.
Right.
And so, we make changes, we help them find ways to really maximize the type of groups they're looking to book and how to make that top dollar. So it's pretty fun to see all this tile, and I'm inspired.
Oh, yeah. So have you ever been to the Coverings show before?
This is my first year. Won't be my last year, though. I can tell you that much.
So you're very busy, and you're traveling all the time. So what compelled you to say, yes, I will show up for this? This is a good use of how I'm going to spend my next few days.
I mean, it was a no-brainer, because not only do I love seeing what's new and innovative, but tile is such an integral part of almost any design project. So anytime you're talking a kitchen or a bathroom, you're definitely going to be using some sort of tile product. And when it comes to things like vacation rentals, it's so important that things aren't just, going to last, but they need to be eye-catching. They need to be something that when people are scrolling through potential properties to book, what's going to jump out at them? What's going to look really sharp? And not only bring a cool effect to the room, but enhance their vacation in some way or their lives in some way. So to see all these cool tiles, not just in pattern, but like implementation, I'm seeing them as countertops, and durability is so important with vacation rentals. So I was excited to come and just have the opportunity to meet and talk to a lot of these vendors.
Right. So you've mentioned a few things, but so can you pin down your 2 or 3 peak moments at the show of just stuff that has wowed you? Or
well, the biggest wow I had was I had no idea I'd be walking into a miniature city.
Yes.
So just the scale of the whole event, just the innovation in the product displays. I have so much inspiration just based off of that. But even just with product, I saw so many things where I'm like, I need to find a spot to use that. I'm in love.
Yeah.
I need a bigger bag.
Yes.
I should have brought definitely a check bag at some point here. But yeah, I've seen so many things. I love all the pattern that we're seeing. And it's not just a recreation of stone. It's fun things that infuse a space with your personality. And that's so important, to have a home or a vacation home that you feel your best self at.
Yeah. So when you're designing a vacation home, do you bring your own stamp to it, or are you working with your client for what they're hoping for, or do you just go on principle of what people like to rent for a vacation home?
You know what? As an influencer, I understand this, but everyone on their vacation wants to live their best life. So I wish every day I could be staying in a beachside mansion with a pool. We don't get that reality all the time. So it's important that when people are choosing a property, that they feel like they're their best selves there. So the design finishes usually need to look high-end. Doesn't mean they have to be expensive. They just need to look high-end. And as well, it's really important that you stand out from the crowd, because you could be one property in 10,000. How does your property differentiate itself? And there needs to be some sort of character, whether it's a color or some unique feature at the property. There just needs to be something that makes you stand out from the pack. And design is an important part of that. So for me, it just depends on the market. Beach houses are totally different than a mountain getaway or a ski lodge. So you have to kind of talk to the type of guest that you're expecting at that property.
Sure. So obviously you mentioned kitchens and baths, very essential to have tile in those spaces. Do you use tile in other rooms? Is it like entryways and outside or?
Oh yeah, and I mean with things like a vacation rental, it has to be durable, has to be wipe and go. You usually have like a 2 or 3 hour window from when one guest leaves till another guest might be arriving. So tile is so important, even in things like entryways, to just do your wall, even up to a chair rail. There's lots of exciting ways to integrate it. And I often say to people, like, there should be no soft surfaces in a vacation rental. You're going to be replacing that all the time.
No.
It doesn't feel clean, you know? So the fact that tile just gives that impression of cleanliness and easy maintenance, and as someone who looks to book them regularly too, that's kind of important.
I've been in the tile industry for a long time, so I'm totally on board with the concept of cleanability. And so what are some of the styles you have been using commonly? Are you doing wood looks? Are you doing these large panel products? I love these.
I love that we're seeing these large panels. So with any design, whether it's a regular home, vacation home, a lot of rooms need a focal point. A lot of times that's a fireplace. So I've personally been using a lot of the large slabs, and you know, marble will yellow, it'll get ugly over time with the smoke and the heat. Grout often gets kind of gross too with the smoke and all the other stuff coming off there. So I found that those large slabs are so valuable for bringing that like smooth stone look without any of the worry, any of the maintenance. And then those slabs are so big that I can often stretch them a little farther. I do like the thresholds to bedrooms.
Oh, nice.
Or seats in the showers.
Love that. How smart.
So it kind of just like is something that carries throughout the whole home. It all ties together, but yet it also has like a really high-end upscale feel. So
I love that answer.
Yeah, you can really maximize your investment. Even if one of those kind of first seems a little bit like, oh, the sticker shock's a little strong, I always tell people, like, you have no idea. Like, you don't want to be cleaning grout lines on a seat in a shower or along a door.
Yes, cut yourself a break with stuff like that.
Exactly.
Because porcelain tile panels seem somewhat new to a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Were you hesitant at first to try something new and different like that, or were you all about it?
I was all about it. Okay. As soon as I saw it, I was like, how do I use this? And I'm really lucky because I do have somebody that is quite trustworthy for manufacturing and fabricating.
Gotcha.
So I felt like once I had that person I knew could definitely install it and it would be perfect.
Because the installation, you know, our installer community had to learn how to work with that product to make it successful. So you are on the path.
Yeah,
you are the living example of making it work residentially. It's also used commercially a lot.
And maybe I was like a little bit naive and I didn't realize how difficult installation could be. So I maybe just got really lucky that the first time I used it went well, and now I just keep using that installer.
It was meant to be. So speaking of something that's used commercially and residentially, obviously you are walking that line with vacation properties. So what goes into your thinking in an overall design in general, just to make sure that
everything you just pointed out, you know, even when you mentioned the wood tile earlier, I often guide people down that path if it's possible, because it just does give you that longevity versus a natural wood floor. And people, you know, on vacation, they're a little more relaxed, and as much as they want to try and take care of your property, things fall, things scrape. And
it's not their house.
Yeah, you just, you know, you don't want them to have to worry about that, and I don't want to worry about that. So I feel like there is a lot of benefit to guiding people towards that. But I mean, personally, I love using it for the character it brings. So I love the natural stones and stuff, but when I see some of those patterns or some uses of like mixed colors and stuff, I really start to get excited, because if I can convince a client to go with those, I know their property is going to stand out. I know they're going to do well. And people don't book homes being like, well, I'm personally more into like traditional furnishings. They would just want something that looks magazine worthy, whatever the style is.
Or do you find your clients who are doing vacation properties are more adventurous than somebody doing the home that they live in?
Oh, that's a great question. I do feel like they are, just because there's a little less personal guidance in there, whether they're working with like their grandmother's furniture or something that's also important. They kind of just feel like they're a little bit more okay to let go of what they personally have in mind. But I feel like I've had to talk some people into certain things, and they usually, I've never had someone regret it. I've recently talked someone into a mint green fridge, and she was like, I don't know what you're doing here. I said, just wait till it's all done, I promise. You're gonna love it.
Here we go. So when you're starting a design, do you start with the surfaces? Do you start with just a concept? Do you find a mint green refrigerator and say, we'll work from there?
This is what I'm working around. It depends. Sometimes I do, or sometimes I see a focal point that they have, or something about them that really draws me to them. So for that home with the mint green fridge, that was actually a shotgun home in New Orleans where we restored all sorts of plaster and had a lot of character. And, you know, like a brand new fridge didn't really seem like something that fit the era. And likewise, we picked really cool things like colorful subway tile. Subway tile was natural to the time the home was built. So we do want to play up the natural feel of the home. I don't want someone to walk in there and go, wow, this feels like a Scandinavian, you know, retreat inside of a Creole cottage or something.
Yeah.
You have to play to the home's strengths. But the surfaces are so important in that. And so natural stone, you know, bouncing off the natural old heart pine floors, you know, things like that. The balance all comes together. But there's usually one focal point somewhere. So for the mint green fridge home, it was all these plaster medallions on the ceiling.
Right.
So those were the stars. Everything else is simple and clean.
So cool. That makes me happy. I love. We discussed off camera like a motif.
Yes.
We like our motifs.
And it should carry throughout. I mean, you shouldn't walk through a home and go, oh, this is the green room, and like, oh, this is the wood room.
And
everything
they have
should
to coexist.
feel cohesive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, for you personally, what do you do with tile? Do you have tile in your own home?
I have so much tile. Like people come over and they're like, "Oh my God, you love
Apparently
tile."
you like tile.
Yeah, and I actually have fun. I'm kind of one of those weekend DIYers, so I actually even enjoy laying tile for myself. So I'll play like in my daughter's bathroom. We did all the walls. You know, like it might be expensive to hire someone to do that many feet of tile, but I was like, well, you know, kids and dogs and all the other stuff, it's just like it made sense. So I try and get creative with tile. I love carrying tile to the ceiling in kitchens. I love just having that seamless look.
Oh, I wish more people would do the ceiling.
The floor to ceiling tile, I mean, or even just floor to ceiling, you know, behind the backsplash going up your stove and then carrying the range hood all the way up with the tile. I mean, it just looks so classy, so timeless. I love doing open shelving with a backdrop of tile. It's just, I always go all in. Like,
so you were meant to come to this trade show. How have you not been to the show before?
The same thing, Irene. After I'm walking around, I was like, okay.
This is the mothership. I'm home.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I was walking in the doors to my new home.
Yes.
And I could live in some of the showrooms here. Like I was like, I don't think I'm leaving some of these.
And some of them, I'm like, this is bigger than my house. You know.
True. Yeah.
It's pretty phenomenal, you guys. If you haven't been, you've got to check this out.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how did you get into the vacation home thing?
Oh, good question.
Where did that start?
I actually started as an interior designer, and I was just approached randomly about having my home published in a magazine, and I actually said no for 2 years because I was like, no.
Everybody wants that.
I know, but I was like, you see such great stuff. I don't compare, like little old me. And finally, she thankfully kept pestering me, and I finally let her come over, and we shot the house, and I kid you not, within 3 weeks I had a phone call from a production company who's like, oh my gosh, you need to work in either production design or television in some way. So it was not the path I ever intended to take, but as I did, I was like, well, as long as it's fun, I'll just keep letting the snowball grow. And that's kind of what's happened.
So yeah, the door opened for you. It was a cool door that you wouldn't even know.
I didn't even know was there.
Right.
An invisible door opened, and now I've met people all over the country. And the fabulous people I have had the chance to work with often share my name with someone else. So I'm so lucky. I get to travel. I get to see different styles of homes. I get to see different neighborhoods. I get to see different ways of living, you know, hot climates versus cold climates. The guests are going to have different needs.
How do you balance that as a designer and making choices about what works in different climates and that kind of thing? Do you have to do your research?
Absolutely. You have to do so much research. So in New Orleans, for example, you know, everything's plaster because it gets really humid.
Yes.
Drywall will get really moldy and gross, and you know, it takes 3 days for a painted wall to dry. So whereas at home it's so dry, I
never
paint and then within 5 minutes I'm on to the next project. No, you have to wait for it to dry. So in every climate, you really have to get educated on what your challenges are going to be, what the client's needs are going to be, and then work around any of those challenges. But most importantly, give yourself time to address them, because it's not worthwhile to skip ahead and move at this lightning speed and then go back and go, oh, I really wish I would have touched on the fact that it rains here every day.
Yes.
Tile would have been way better than wood. So you do have to start thinking through.
Just curious, in vacation rentals,
Potential, yeah.
Do they have codes similar to hotels? Do you have any codes special
that
and
varies
unique?
from market to market. In some cities, it is something where you need a license or a permit, and then you have to probably pay some sort of special tax or hospitality tax. Different cities address it differently. The one thing I can say across the board, every city I've ever gone in, the people who are good at this aren't doing it for the money. They are doing it because they love being part of people's memories and providing an experience that is different from anyone else. And they, every place I've stayed, I've been so lucky because I've had that experience where I still text with some of them, and they sent over a prepared meal the night we arrived because they knew we were getting in really late.
Yeah.
They really are thoughtful people, and it's a whole network of like-minded people who really care about hospitality. It's more than sharing your home. It's truly being the epitome of hospitality. So as a Southern belle, I'm sure you'd be great at that.
That's kind of, this is inspiring. It makes me think a little, I have to admit.
Like Nashville,
there's a lot of vacation rental property in Nashville going on.
Actually, I know a really lovely girl who actually put her house on just for her honeymoon. They went to Italy for 2 weeks, and they thought, let's just make a little money to help cover the costs. We're newlyweds. And she didn't quite understand how to work the calendar feature.
Right.
She came home and her home was booked out for the entire year. They had to go buy a second home. She and her husband both have quit their jobs. They've done so well with it. And it's been so inspiring to hear stories like that where people are like, this has changed my life.
Talk about a door you didn't even know was there.
I know. She was working at Dell, so she had a great job, and she's just like, oh, this is way better.
Apparently this worked out.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, so is this your last day at the show?
This is my last day at the show.
Oh man, so of all the things you've seen, I know you've talked about some of your highlights, but is there just one thing you're like, okay, and I know you alluded to, I got to try that somewhere, but what is that one thing, if it can come to mind? Pressure is on.
I've really loved the mixing of materials. So where you see some of these displays, they go from like a wood-looking tile and then kind of like feather into, stone or a marble look. I love that. Really creative. And I also really love some of these like hand sketched tiles. I've seen kind of like graffiti tiles, and all I can think to myself is, if you put that in your house, you're not going to walk into your neighbors and see that tile anywhere.
Yes.
So I really like the mix of like all the natural stuff, but I also kind of really like that funky urban vibe I see going on a lot too. And I definitely myself could picture that going in somewhere.
Right. And so you're going back to what's next for you when you leave here? Do you get to be home for a while, or are you on to the next?
I get to be home for one day, and then I'm traveling to someone's home who needs me to help install their living room. So we've ordered a bunch of great stuff, and we're going to put it up.
So explain your life just a little bit. We have a little more time here, and people need to understand. You were telling me off camera, you're on the go a lot.
I am. I travel almost year round, whether we're traveling for the show. We're in a city usually for about a week. If I'm traveling for clients, we kind of plan ahead of time, get everything ready, do a lot of ground prep, and then I'll fly in for 4 or 5 days, and we put the rooms together, however many rooms we're working on. So it's every week, every month is different. Sometimes I get to be home for like 3 or 4 weeks, and that's great.
Does it feel weird when you're home? Are you at that place where home
it takes
feels
a day or two
like
where
to come back in?
I do have like that decompression time where I'm like, wait, like who's doing dinner? Oh wait, that's my job. I'm back home now. Like
I need my minions to bring me food.
I'm not so high maintenance, but I'm a little high maintenance.
Excellent. Well, we are so excited to keep watch with, and tell people where to find you online.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, at In the Fun Lane. And you can find Vacation Rental Potential on A&E on Saturday mornings, on FYI Network on Thursday evenings, and anytime online at the show's webpage, which is homeaway.com/VRP.
Awesome. We can't wait to keep following you and see the beautiful things you do. Thank you for having me. So happy you're here.
My pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.